For years, the countries along the Arabian Gulf have been selling the world on one big idea: stability. While other parts of the Middle East faced war and chaos, places like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, and Riyadh built themselves into safe, modern cities where business could happen without worry. They became home to global banks, luxury hotels, and thousands of wealthy foreigners who came for the sunshine and the tax breaks. The promise was simple. You could park your money here, build your career here, and never have to think about missiles or drones. That promise is now being tested in real time. Over the weekend, Iran launched what officials are calling an unprecedented response to American and Israeli strikes. For the first time in this long conflict, projectiles flew directly over some of the most important financial centers in the Middle East. And suddenly, the people who run the world's money had to ask themselves a question they haven't had to ask in years: is it still safe here? Now consider what that question means for a place like Dubai. This is a city that has spent decades building itself into a magnet for global wealth. In the last 4 years alone, property prices there have jumped about 70%. That's not an accident. That's the result of waves of money pouring in from all over the world. Russians fleeing the war in Ukraine, crypto millionaires looking for friendly regulations, and finance professionals chasing big salaries with no income tax. The Dubai International Financial Center, known as the DIFC, now hosts more than 100 hedge funds. Some of those funds manage billions of dollars. Their traders sit in gleaming offices and move money across time zones, and they chose Dubai because it felt like a safe place to do that. But when the airspace fills with drones and missiles, even the safest feeling city can suddenly feel different. What would it take for someone to leave a place like that? Banks with names you know, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Citigroup, immediately activated their contingency plans. That means they shifted employees to remote work where possible. They checked their emergency protocols. Over in the DIFC, hedge fund managers did something they probably never practiced during fire drill. They reviewed evacuation routes. They booked hotel rooms for staff who couldn't get home. Some of them started looking at maps and figuring out whether they could drive their people out of the country through Oman, just in case the airport stayed closed for too long. For a region that built its reputation on being above the chaos, this is a new kind of stress test. Of course, not everyone is panicking. There are plenty of people in Dubai right now who say this is just a temporary blip. Kish Desai is one of them. He moved from London to Dubai last year to open an investment firm called Tourmaline Partners. Here's what he told Bloomberg: "The UAE is doing an incredible job in terms of defending itself and its residents, and I think the vast majority of people continue to feel safe here. We all hope the situation will resolve itself quickly and is just a short-term blip." That's a reasonable hope. But hope isn't a plan. Some of the people who help place finance professionals in jobs around the world say that for many expatriates already living in the UAE, the math still works in the country's favor. The career opportunities are real. The tax advantages are enormous. Those things don't disappear overnight just because there's tension in the air. Over time, the thinking goes, most people will probably stay put if the disruption is brief. But there's another way to look at it, too. Hussein Nasser Eddin runs a security firm in Dubai called Crownox. His company specializes in helping wealthy people get out of dangerous situations. And according to him, the phones have been ringing. He told Bloomberg that his firm has already evacuated scores of high-net-worth individuals and CEOs across the border into Oman. That's not a panic. That's people with resources making quiet, practical decisions. So which version of this story is closer to the truth? Is this a moment that will pass, leaving the region's reputation for stability intact? Or is it the beginning of something bigger, something that makes wealthy foreigners rethink where they want to live and work? The answer probably depends on what happens next. Imagine you're a hedge fund manager sitting in a tower in Dubai. You've built your career on making calculated decisions. You're watching the news. You're seeing that a refinery in Saudi Arabia called Ras Tanura, one of the largest in the world, run by the state oil company Aramco, has reportedly been hit by a drone strike. That refinery is critical infrastructure. It processes massive amounts of oil every day. And Saudi Arabia has spent years trying to shield its economic transformation from exactly this kind of conflict. Now the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, has a problem on his hands. He's been trying to attract foreign investment, build new cities, and remake the Saudi economy. All of that depends on investors believing the kingdom is a safe place to put money. A drone strike near Ras Tanura doesn't just threaten oil production. It threatens that belief. And the oil markets noticed. Brent crude futures shot up the most they have in 4 years, heading toward $80 a barrel. Tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway that a huge portion of the world's oil passes through, slowed to almost nothing. Saudi Arabia's main stock index fell for a second straight day. The UAE markets were closed entirely on Monday and Tuesday, giving investors a chance to pause and think. So here's another question for anyone watching this unfold: what happens if this isn't over in a few days? The analysts quoted in the Bloomberg piece lay out two possible futures. In the first one, the conflict stays contained. Maybe there's a brief flare-up, some fireworks, some tense moments, and then things calm down. Core infrastructure, airports, oil facilities, financial districts, comes through intact. In that version, the Gulf countries actually come out looking stronger. They've proven they can handle a crisis. The stability narrative holds, maybe even gets reinforced. In the second version, things drag on. Maybe the drones keep coming. Maybe airspace gets disrupted repeatedly. Maybe commercial districts get hit, or energy infrastructure keeps getting targeted. In that version, the whole foundation starts to crack. Because if you're a global bank or a hedge fund or a wealthy family deciding where to live, you can't build your future in a place where you're constantly wondering if you'll be able to fly out next week. That's the real test here. It's not about who wins the military conflict. It's about whether the Gulf can keep its promise of being a place apart from the region's troubles. Some people who've been through this before say not to bet against the UAE. Viswanathan Shankar is a former top executive at Standard Chartered who now runs an investment firm called Gateway Partners. He's seen this movie before. Historically, he told Bloomberg, the UAE has been brilliant at converting every crisis into an opportunity. I expect the same will happen. He's not wrong about the history. When COVID hit, Dubai reopened faster than almost anywhere else. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the UAE absorbed billions of dollars in flight capital from Russians looking for a safe place to park their money. The place has a track record of turning bad news into good business. But past performance doesn't guarantee future results. This time, the crisis isn't a pandemic or a war somewhere else. This time, the crisis is overhead. So where does that leave the finance hubs of the Middle East? For now, in a kind of waiting pattern. The banks are on remote work. The hedge funds have their evacuation plans ready. Some wealthy families have already made quiet exits to Oman. Others are staying put, watching, waiting to see if this blows over. The property market in Dubai has been red hot for years. Some analysts say that if the disruption continues, prices could finally take a hit. Because real estate in a place like Dubai isn't just about square footage and ocean views. It's about confidence. It's about believing that the city will still be standing, still be safe, still be desirable 5 or 10 years from now. And that confidence, right now, is being tested in a way it hasn't been tested in a very long time. The next few days and weeks will tell the story. If the missiles stop and the airports reopen and life returns to normal, the Gulf will probably come out of this stronger, just like it has before. People will tell stories about the time things got a little scary, and then they'll go back to business as usual. But if this drags on, if the disruptions keep happening, if the safety premium starts to feel like a discount instead, then the whole equation changes. Because the one thing you can't build a global finance hub without is trust. And trust, once shaken, it's very hard to put back together. And that right there is the big question. Is this just another chapter in a region that always bounces back, or is it the moment the story changes? If this video got you thinking, hit that like button. It really helps more people find it. And if you want to keep up with stories about where the world's money is moving and what happens when it gets shaken up, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Also, share this video with someone who needs to see it. Maybe a friend who keeps asking you about moving to Dubai. You know who they are. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.